Mike. So happy to have you guys here. We've known each other for a long, long time. Mike Sr., you have been my broker, and Mike Jr., we've known each other, I don't know, more than a decade for sure. So
Yes.
yeah, happy to have you guys on. So thanks for being
Thank
here.
you for having us. Happy to be here.
No, absolutely. So the topic of the day is broker commissions. And, there have been lawsuits on a national scale. There have been lawsuits, in Massachusetts. And so there's a lot of disruption in our industry around that. Everything is about to change as of August 17th. Mike Sr., I'm going to just throw this out to you. Tell me what's happening in Massachusetts as it relates to broker commissions and how it's, changing the structure of your business.
So because we belong to MLS PIN, we're a little bit different from the people involved with the NAR settlement. MLS PIN is a separate lawsuit. So for the time being, we're still moving forward as we have been. There are changes being made, preparations being made. The conversation is slightly different because we're still offering compensation in MLS. And we just have to navigate that as it goes forward.
What kind of conversations are you all having with your buyer clients at this point? Like, are they confused? Are your seller clients confused? Or what kind of questions are they asking you? And how are you walking them through this?
So what we saw initially was a lot of misinformation. When it first came out, there was a lot of fear. Prices are going to drop, plummet. Commissions were going away. The market was going to be in turmoil. And so I spent a lot of time at the beginning just explaining what the lawsuit was about and the fact that it's going to change the way commissions are discussed. It's going to change the way compensation is offered. But in the end, the buyer wants to buy and the seller wants to sell, and we have to just navigate how the new structure will what their options are, what a consumer's options are.
Yeah, I think, I had buyers fist pumping and jumping up and down saying, I don't have to pay out, buyer's agents commissions. And it's like, well, not so fast. That might be part of our strategy, but it might not be. And it might be more beneficial to do that. I think the biggest concern from, my perspective was, okay, well, as a first-time home buyer, where do you get the money to pay a commission out of pocket? Especially if you're in a situation where you can't finance it through your mortgage or seller's concession. So I think that was the biggest challenge for us before we knew what was going to happen. But like Mike Sr. said, we didn't panic. I mean, changes have come in this industry in major ways over the course of a few decades. And it's important to let the dust settle before we start making moves and making radical changes. But, at the end of the day, right now, we're kind of in a very similar position we were in before. So I think it's just more about educating those buyers and sellers about how it works now and how we're going to approach it and just kind of implement new strategies to deal with it.
And there was a lot of confusion.
Go ahead, Mike.
If I may, myself included, when these first came down, this lawsuit, it was like, okay, so people with VA loans are not allowed to pay commissions. And that's quickly been addressed by the industry. Lenders are, from what I understand, are now going to be offering loans to buyers for the compensation side if need be, that will not impact the loan to value.
Explain that, Mike. Explain that in a little more detail.
And again, this is kind of new stuff, so I don't want to say I'm an authority on it, but the big fear was that if a home buyer had 5 or 10% as their down payment, and then they had to add to that a commission, it would change their loan to value because it'd have to less money to put down on the house, and so they'd have to compensate their broker. And now it puts a lot of stress on the first-time home buyer or the person that has 5 or 10% down. And my understanding is the lending industry is stepping forward and saying, wait a minute, we have to find a way to allow that buyer to still buy a house, not exclude them from the market. And my understanding is that's how the lending industry and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are addressing that. Again, I'm not an authority on that, but at least I think what will happen here is there's a lot at stake for a lot of different players in this process: brokers, lenders, secondary market lenders, attorneys, and I think we'll navigate it. We'll figure it out so that the consumer is not impacted in a negative way. There's going to be a lot of positives for consumers. We just don't want there to be the negative too.
Yeah. So let me, I want to play on that a little bit. Cause like when I think about the broker and when I think about the buyer and specifically Massachusetts, right? Extremely hard to afford a home in Massachusetts on any level as a first-time home buyer. We're still in multiple offer situations, right? We're still in a seller's market, although it's slowed down, especially in certain pockets, right? We're still seeing multiple offer situations. Mm-hmm. So what does that do to somebody who has 5 or 10% and now they have to pay their broker? I mean, that puts them in a bigger disadvantage. So how do we get them through that? It sounds like lenders are starting to step up, but in the absence of that, what other types of negotiation, what other solutions are there for these first-time home buyers?
So hopefully during this process, listing agents will have that conversation with their sellers and help them understand that it's not necessarily in their best interest not to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. It could be beneficial to them because it opens the market up to a larger audience. By saving or shifting the commission from the full commission from their side of the transaction to splitting it, it may exclude part of the market. That I don't think that's in the seller's best interest. So everyone will have a different approach to this and what they think is more beneficial to their clients. But I think if we give, just as we're going to educate our buyers as to what it means to them, if we educate our sellers also to the different types of offer they may receive, and some will have compensation shared and some won't, it will help the process. But in the end, in the absence of some type of pre-conversation, not a pre-conversation, but a conversation regarding offering commissions from any structure, it's going to put, there's no way to get around that conversation. It's going to hurt some buyers in this process.
And like any answer to a question about real estate, it depends. Are you a buyer? Are you a seller? What house are we looking at? What price range? I can see different scenarios with different types of properties. If we're talking about a starter home, we're going to have a very different conversation about compensation than someplace in a luxury market with a house in the 2 to 3 million range. It's going to be different. And I think you'll see a lot of that going forward as well.
So let's talk about the broker side of it. So I am of the opinion, I guess I would say, that this is an opportunity for buyer brokers, to really good ones, to get paid what they're worth. What is your thought about that?
It's going to bring to the forefront the value that a broker brings to the transaction.
Yeah.
You better be able to describe what you do and how it benefits their client. Right? What does a broker add to a transaction? You can't, like myself, I've been in the business since 78. It's a long time. Don't tell anyone. But yeah. So it's not enough for me to say, oh, I'm an experienced broker, so you should be hiring me. Well, wait a minute. Just because I've been in the business for that long doesn't mean there's someone who's been in business for 4 or 5 years doesn't have a skill set and a value set that might be better suited to a different client, right? So I have to explain what I do, but also what the benefit is. And we used to call it like unique selling proposition, right?
Yeah.
Selling proposal or whatever you might call it. It's what do I add to the transaction? And if I don't have a good way of explaining my skill set and how it benefits my clients, I'm going to lose business that way. And so I think that's one of the true benefits of this for buyers is they're going to be able to interview with brokers. They always have had that, but we're going to have to step up our game on it.
Yeah, and it's certainly been a challenge on the buyer agent side, people not being able to articulate what we do. We do a lot. And I think sometimes we have to focus on what brings the most value to the client. Being a therapist at 10 o'clock at night might not be the value sought by these home buyers. So understanding how to evaluate homes and price homes and delivering that value to them, make it clear. Just whatever your proposition is, make it extremely clear, because we do a lot, but there's certain things that are going to hold more value than others.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that there are a lot of brokers out there who sort of really lean into the listing agent to do most of the work, and then they end up, getting paid and without putting, a lot of value behind the transaction, right? And so, do you think this is going to elevate the overall profession?
It's hard to say because real estate's so cyclical. Like when things get good, you have this huge influx of agents coming into the business. And then a lot of those agents will leave after the cycle downturns. Now, we haven't really had a downturn in, a decade and a half now, which is kind of amazing and scary at the same time. But what is that going to look like? I think that the problem comes to buyers and sellers who have to kind of weed through and find out who is an actual dedicated agent who's been doing it for a long enough period to have that experience. I think that that's going to happen naturally. And I think that the ones that display the best value, the cream always rises to the top, right? I love the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 power rule. You have 20% of those agents doing the most amount of doing 80% of the transactions. I think they're easier to spot. They're more publicly visible. And so elevate, I don't know if it elevates what's already happening. I think that's kind of natural to begin with in the market.
I think the consumers always had that ability to interview multiple brokers. Consumers look for different things, right? Some are looking for a discounted broker fee. Others are looking for more services. There's always been the person that's changed their own oil in the car. There's other people that wouldn't lift up the hood, right? So what are you looking for? What do you want in a broker? What services do you require? And so I think there's a certain number of brokers that most try to elevate their skill set regularly. Some are more successful than others, right? The consumer will just go out and find the person that best fits what they're looking for. Yeah. It's always been there. So I don't think this is going to elevate the industry in and of itself. I think the industry has already tried to do that and probably should do a better job at it.
So what advice would you give to other real estate agents who are trying to navigate through this change?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. Know your value, know what you add to a transaction. It's not enough to do business as normal as we've been doing it in the past. You need to have a better understanding of what value you add to a client. You can't say I'm experienced and I'm honest and I'm hardworking. 99% of the industry is hardworking, honest, committed to the industry. That doesn't add any value then at that point if you're in that group. So what else do you add? Marketing skills, negotiating skills, response times, technology. Have a better understanding of how that adds value to your clients.
And then just the other end of that, for the agents, understand your market and what's going to benefit your clients specifically. We're very diverse here. So there's like all the different types of properties, all different types of clients, from first-time home buyers to investors. So understand who you're working with and how certain decisions are going to impact those individuals. It could be different by client. You could have in your practice just a standard way of doing things for your own personal business and what you recommend, but just understand how those choices impact your client and you'll make the best decisions anyways.
All right, Mike Jr., we'll start with you.
Don't shift to me. I haven't Googled it yet.
Trust is.
Know, like, trust is empowering yourself and your clients through knowledge and building trust.
All right, where can people find you?
Nowhere. I'm hiding right now.
Don't bother calling Mike Jr. Call me, Mike DelRose Sr. I'm at Caldwell Banker at 130 Concord Ave in Belmont, Massachusetts. That's where they can reach me, 617-293-5700 my cell.
Giving out his personal cell. Smart.
Well,
I'm gonna prank you later.
they're not going to call you either, so don't worry about it.
You can find us at you can find our team at delrosemcshane.com.
There you go. That's the tech side of things. I'm the old Paul. That's fine.
You're dating yourself. I'm not saying much.
Okay, you can cut that part out.
Oh my God, you guys are freaking hysterical. Took 20 minutes to get those zingers out. Anyway.
I know. It's a very serious topic, so it's hard to kind of joke around with it. There's a lot at stake for a lot of people.
Well, you guys, you're amazing at what you do. I have personally experienced your value proposition, and you're just amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
And you did hire me instead of Mike Jr. So there's that. I'm just saying.
I mean,
love it.
I think when you guys worked together, I was like a year before I entered the industry. So
I don't even think you were out of college.
I wasn't licensed.
No.
Now that she knows what she knows, I think it's a much easier decision.
I would agree with that.
Oh, you guys. All right. Well, for everyone who's listening, thank you so much for listening. And if you like what you're hearing and you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to click subscribe. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to give us a 5-star review. Leave us a review. Share it with your friends. We would so much appreciate it. It really goes a long way. Thanks so much, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Ciao, everyone.